Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's going to be reviewing the Boss 302 Mustang, and this is in a way a predecessor to my favorite Mustang of all time, the Shelby GT350. Before we get into this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Kengar Ford here in American Fork, Utah for giving me some time with this Boss 302. This particular one is available for sale for the time being, so if you're interested, I'll include a link to their website in the description down below. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below as well. Let's get into it. Powering this is a naturally aspirated 5-liter V8 that goes through a 6-speed manual transmission. Power outputs are 444 horsepower at 7,400 RPMs and then 380 pound-feet of torque at 4,500 RPMs. And you guys can see the blue underneath, which is really cool. And then it says Boss 302. And then you got the bracing over. Again, similar display to the GT350. Now, before we move forward with this video, I do want to mention if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the hood, you guys can see you've got some stripe action. It's interesting how it goes up and then across rather than just down the center. And then look at the venting there on the hood as well. Now I've got this generation of Mustang signature lights. This one's a 2013 if you guys are wondering. And then I like this here. I've got the two little kind of like nostrils in the grille with the Mustang horse front and center. And putting it all together, I mean, when you see this in person, you can just tell it means business. Coming around the side here, our tire wheel setup is 255/40/19 in the front and then 285/35/19 in the rear, so slightly staggered setup. And then if you take a look at the wheels themselves, you can see all blacked out. You do have Brembo brakes as well with this Boss 302 package, and I like the silver ring on the outside. I think that looks pretty sharp. Of course, it says Boss 302 here on the side, and then notice how that little stripe action continues all along the rest of the bodywork. And then here's your full side view with the Boss 302. It has that iconic, more muscle car appearance that the Mustang has been known for years. Now here's a quick look at the key fob, which is the key that you will probably recognize from a lot of Fords from this era. But the cool thing is it actually says Boss 302 there on the back. But yeah, functionality on it's pretty simple. Now popping inside said Boss 302. It looks like it comes with a special little bag here. I almost said pillow. It actually, is that a... Oh, it is. Okay, I was gonna say, it kind of look, that's interesting. And you guys can see over here as well, we've got the owner's kit. It's cool this has all the original stuff with it. But yeah, regular Mustang trunk. Now this has the Mustang's signature taillights here, and then you guys can see the horse there on the back. And then look how crazy those exhaust tips are. You guys will like the sound of this. So putting it all together, I mean, definitely a bright color, but let me know what you guys think about the looks. Now popping inside, pretty basic there on the door panel, but you do have some like cloth trim here and then some padding where actually you're going to rest your arm. Automatic windows, which is a nice feature, and then there's a quick look at the mirrors. And being a Mustang, this actually has back seats, even though it's a more track-oriented Mustang. They are cloth seats, for those of you wondering, but they exist. And then you guys can see Boss 302 here on these Recaro seats. They are manually adjustable, although it says powered by Ford. And then we've got the 3-pedal layout down below, and then we've got our light controls off to the side. Wow, would you look at that? Now taking a look at the steering wheel, it has Alcantara wrapped around it, which after 22,000 miles, it has worn quite a bit. That's kind of one of the downsides about Alcantara. But aside from that, you've got practical controls here on the steering wheel and a 3-spoke design. Now we've got these analog gauges here, which look really cool. You got a little screen there in the center to show you different bits of vehicle information. Surprisingly modern looking, somewhat. What's definitely not modern is this whole radio stack here in the center. So we've got more of like an old school radio. You can see you've got a single zone climate system as well. But something that's surprising is the dash here at the top is actually soft touch. So despite the fact that there's lots of, actually this is soft touch too. I was gonna say hard touch plastic throughout, but this is also soft. And speaking of cool things, look at this on the dash, Boss 302. And then this leads us over to the manual transmission. Very short throws, and it's like a little nub. Like you basically have your arm resting on the center console because of how low the shifter is. Very, very unique setup. A reverse lockup, by the way, you push down and then you'll basically just push it over. And then you got stability control, hazard lights, and then that is just to open up the trunk. And then we have a traditional brake here on the side, some cup holder action, and then we've got a center console that apparently I don't know how to open. Wow, that's weird. Click that in. Interesting, but it is padded on the top, which is nice. Anyways, with all of that being said, let's take this Boss 302 out and see what it drives like. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's visibility of the hood, both the mirrors, throughout the rest of the rear, and short throw stubby shifter. Oh wait, also he's got to adjust this apparently. But yeah, this is my first experience in the Boss 302, and it's been years since I have driven this generation of Mustang, and so it'll be interesting to see just how this feels. And if you guys don't know, I own a GT350, a 2020, and so, you know, I've got some opinions on Mustang stuff. I feel like I'm allowed to talk about this stuff. What I will say right off the bat is this short throw shifter, although kind of annoying with how stubby it is, I like it more than the shifter that's in my GT350. Now the GT350 has a 6-speed Tremec manual, which is amazing, but this, like, and maybe it's just because, again, the short throw action just feels so good when you go from gate to gate. It's really cool. Now I will say another thing is, you know, this having a 5.0 V8, it's got a completely different feel than the Voodoo V8, right? It's all about low-end grunt. Even though the Voodoo has more torque, this develops the torque at a slightly lower RPM. So it just has a different feel overall. Yeah, it's got that iconic 5.0 Mustang sound. Absolutely love that. Oh, it just has so much. That's so cool. It's got such a muscle car feel to it. And the rev match downshifts pretty good. Not as good as the 350. The 350 is way more blippable with the throttle. But this thing, it does a pretty good job. Now it's like 100 degrees outside pretty much, which is normally bad, but the thing that's good is that means that we're gonna get lots of traction. Pretty long gearing, but also it has that forceful, like, punch that you just associate with a muscle car. This feels more muscle than sports car. And when it comes to turn-in, the steering is, if I'm being honest, horrible. But I think that's kind of part of the charm of this car. It handles really well, but the problem is I cannot tell what is going on with the front end whatsoever. Which is so crazy because the 350, it doesn't have necessarily the best steering on the planet, but the steering communicates pretty dang well. This, on the other hand, it communicates absolutely nothing. You're kind of steering more by chassis feel. Oh, yeah, this feels like the type of, if this car was a person, it would be the overly manly man meme. The dude with his fists up with the mustache and the muscles. That's what this car is. It's like the epitome of masculinity, which is not a bad thing. It makes it fun. So there's some things up here with the Boss 302. From what I felt with that little drive, the handling actually feels really good with the car. It's just that it's not confidence inspiring because the steering is so, like, you can't really tell what's happening with the car. But I can tell that it handles really well. So overall, really fun car, great engine. Again, you can't go wrong with a 5.0 V8. Manual transmission feels great. If you want more of, like, basically, if you want a modern car that has the old school muscle car feel, that's what this Boss 302 provides, but it also has better handling than an old school muscle car. Also, you gotta, like, really muscle in to get that into reverse. You have to, like, really muscle that down. So you gotta have muscles to operate the muscle car. Maybe that's why they've named it so. But give me a second. Don't want to back up into a $60,000. Actually, that's not a $60,000 Ford Bronco. $50,000 Ford Bronco. Regardless, let me know your thoughts are on the Boss 302. But I can definitely see, like, in the GT350 that I own, I can see a lot of inspiration from this car. But yeah, two completely different cars. The GT350 is like full-on sports car, whereas this, you still feel the muscle car heritage in it.